Hey, what's going on? Welcome to Built for the Stage podcast. This is Joe Roscoe, founder and host of Built for the Stage, Broadway's #1 fitness platform with clients in over 20 Broadway shows and stages across the globe, like the West End in London, Australia, and collegiate theaters across the country. We are your one-stop shop for all things theater and fitness. So if you want to work with me on an interactive fitness app, head on over to builtforthestage.com and check it out. All right, let's move on to our exciting guest. I actually ran into them in the Sherbert Alley outside of their theater at this little show called Some Like It Hot. You might have heard of it. It's one of everyone's favorites. I believe it was nominated for 13 Tonys. Our guest, aside from being in Some Like It Hot, is a Broadway legend, if you will. The Prom, The Producers, Something Rotten, Big Fish, Catch Me If You Can, Young Frankenstein, Annie Get Your Gun, Chicago, Sunset Boulevard, Crazy for You, and the Will Rogers Follies. I mean, come on. Please welcome to the podcast, Angie Schworer.
Hiya, Joe.
Hello. Standing ovation.
Woo! Oh, thank you, everyone. Yes, thank you for the standing O.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. It's a Thursday when we're recording. How have shows been this week? Anything interesting going on over there?
No, nothing new and crazy. We're holding steady. The audiences are always on their feet. I say they levitate out the door after they hear this score and see this show. We're holding steady and having a good summer. And I mean, the audiences are just going crazy. What can I say?
Yeah, honestly, going into it, I didn't know much about it or what to expect, especially since it's an original story or musical. And I was just glowing the entire time. It is my style. I love this style of musical theater, if you will, a more like traditional musical theater up there. So I was just beaming. Before we jump into Some Like It Hot, let's do something I like to call the BFTS hot seat. I guess no pun intended there with the
Some Like It Hot
title of your show. Yeah. So I'm going to put on a little cheesy music here.
Okay.
Put on this hot seat right there. All right, we're going to get started here. Simple stuff like foods, movies, music. Just going to have some fun. All right, we're watching cable on TV. We're not watching, Netflix or Amazon Prime, anything like that. We're watching cable. You're flipping through the channels. What's a movie that always stops you where you're like, you know what? I've seen this movie 100 times, but I can't help but watch it again.
Pretty Woman.
Oh, yeah. Okay, amazing. You're having a little bit of a sluggish day, and you need to play a particular song that's going to like just get you going, make you feel happy, all the vibes. What's one of those songs?
King of Anything, Sarah Bareilles.
Amazing. Okay. You're, I don't know, going to like a family holiday party or just like some close relative or friend of yours. Who makes your favorite like food dish that you're like, you know what? Aunt Sally's like what is that meal for you?
My sissy's beer cheese.
Okay, let's go beer cheese.
There's no beer in it, but it's like, you dip a nice everything bagel in it. I love dippy things.
Okay, amazing. Okay. You have a time machine. You can go to any decade and any place. Where are you going to travel to? Past, present, future? What are you going to do?
The 60s is my favorite era. And I wasn't an adult in that era, believe it or not. So it'd be the 60s because I love the style, clothing. I don't know, 60s Palm Springs. I don't know.
Okay, amazing. Cool. You're not a performer. What would you be doing?
Well, I told my late father I always wanted to be a doctor. So he was a doctor. So, and we used to watch Quincy together, which is a forensic pathologist. So I don't know, now as an adult, not a forensic pathologist, but a doctor. Dancing doctor.
A dancing doctor. You know what? I think we all need that in our life because no one, as amazing as doctors are, we typically don't want to go to them per se because of what's going on. So a dancing doctor to kind of lighten the
Yeah.
mood
And
would.
then maybe you wouldn't get the white coat disease when I take your blood pressure.
Absolutely. I'm with that. Okay. Last question. You're reincarnated on this earth as an animal. What animal are you going to be?
Cat.
Okay. All right. Why are we going to be a
A
cat?
long-legged lady cat.
Okay. Just prancing about. Okay. Got it. All right. Congratulations. You're off the BFTS hot seat. Yay.
Thank goodness.
Okay. So where are you originally from? What's your home state?
I'm from a little town called Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, northern Kentucky. So my metropolis growing up was Cincinnati, right across the river.
Oh, wow. Cincinnati's
Huge.
I mean, geez. I'm from Youngstown, Ohio, which is the other side of the world of Cincinnati. But
Okay.
we Ohioans will call it, no offense to any Cincinnati people out there, but we'll call it Cincinnati. That's what we'll call the natty.
Oh, that's what you call
Yeah.
Cincinnati? So that's what you call Cincinnati? Cincinnati?
Maybe
Oh,
it's just
no.
maybe it's a couple of wrong little areas that we would spend our time in. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe that's
absolutely.
the issue.
And then so I grew up in Fort Mitchell, which is about probably 8 minutes from your Cincinnati. But my dance studio growing up was in Covington, which is literally right across the river from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So, and up until the pandemic, it was still open. My dance teacher is 91 and was still teaching until the pandemic. The pandemic closed this little studio.
Oh, wow.
So that's where I started, and that's where I always say I learned my style.
Yeah. Nice. Well, one of my great friends, Jen Noble, is from Cincinnati. Shout out Jen, and she's an amazing person. So Cincinnati, it
Now
does
you're trying to make up for it.
does some great things. For me,
Hey, Jen.
honestly, like I don't have anything against it. It's just kind of this Ohio thing that people call it that.
Yeah, everybody's got their little nicknames for things.
All right, but let me run away from that. All right, so you were born in the bluegrass state of Kentucky. When do the arts start in your life?
Well, the arts, as far as my dance, started when I was 5 because I started taking at Ziegler's Dance Studio in Covington. My sister was already dancing, and I couldn't start. They wouldn't take you until you were 5, but I would go watch her. And then my dance teacher's daughter, Laurie Ziegler, started teaching me cartwheels in the backyard. She started early because she was the dance studio's, daughter. And so she started teaching me tricks on the lawn. And then when I was 5, I finally started taking dance. So dance of the arts has been part of my life for a million years. But then I guess when I was a gymnast too. I was a cheerleader. I did all the things. But when I went to college, I went to a little college, Northern Kentucky University, in Kentucky, and that's when I started the musical theater thing. That's when someone said, you have to learn how to speak and sing and do all the things, because I was really just a dancer. I shouldn't say it like that, a dancer, but that's what I love to do. And so that's when I started sort of on the musical theater train.
Yeah.
So late, kind of late.
No, yeah. So you're in college when wait. So what did you go initially for school for college?
No, but I went to get a bachelor's of fine arts. But I'm saying I really didn't do any other acting and singing. Okay, no, I lie. So in high school, we did the play Alice in Wonderland. I was a bird. I think I had one line. I wasn't Alice in Wonderland. I was a bird.
Got it.
So it wasn't until college where we kind of learned to start singing and speaking and acting.
Okay, and then did the red carpet just get rolled out for you right then, and then you're on Broadway, or what was that?
Heck no. I did do my first big part in college, though. In the summer dinner theater, I was Lois in Kiss Me Kate. That was my first sort of bite of the musical theater moment, where that's a perfect character for me, because you just do a little bit of everything. You don't have to be like the greatest Parkenbarker. you know, you don't have to stand and sing an aria. You get to dance, you get to act, you get to sing, which is kind of what I do, a little bit of everything. So
Mm.
that's when I got the little bug of that. But I did, in the summer, I went and did Busch Gardens. That was my first professional gig. The German show, Williamsburg. I went back another summer and did the indoor show. Then I went to Disney. I worked at Disney for a long time. I was a showgirl in Atlantic City. I was a showgirl in Japan. I went back and opened up MGM Studios. And then from MGM Studios, I got the red carpet. Not really, but I did. I flew up and auditioned for Roger Follies via a friend of mine who said, I think you should come and audition for this show because Tommy wants women that are over 5'8". I'm almost 5'11". So I was like, check, got that. But I did. I flew up and auditioned for the Will Rogers Follies and got it, gave my 2 weeks notice at Disney and have been here ever since. That was
Ama-
32 years ago.
Amazing. Okay, so when you were doing all these gigs leading up to Will Rogers Follies, you were still like on cloud nine loving it, or was there a bit of like a, you know, heaviness of earning your stripes per se? What was that experience like for you?
You know what? It's never been that for me. It's always sort of I don't know how the right way to say it. I was never like, this is the end all for me. I have to be on Broadway, right? I knew
Mm.
so many people that had moved to New York and weren't working, and they were way more talented than I am. And so I thought, I'm just gonna work where I can work. So
Yeah.
I never was mad about it. I never regretted that I'm in Japan or Atlantic City and not on Broadway. It's just sort of my path.
Mm.
So I just kind of said yes to things. And as far as working at Disney on that property, I was the dance captain. I was a swing. I did 5 shows a day. I did other convention shows. I made money for my age and that time, and I loved it. It was a great company to work for. I put a down payment on a house. I was going to live in Orlando and work for Disney because I loved it so much. And
Awesome.
then when I got my first Broadway show, I pulled the down payment and I moved here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was never a, oh God, this is what I'm doing now. It was just, I just loved it. I loved whatever work I could get. And it was just how my life sort of panned out.
Yeah. Would you say that Broadway kind of came to you because you weren't pressing so much?
Well, I mean, who's to say how that all worked out? I mean, in a way, I guess you could say I've kind of been one of the luckiest people in showbiz because of my stature. I was in the Susan Stroman era. You know, she
Mm.
loved her tall showgirls, right? I hit that. I just happened to hit that. Um, so you know, now if I was coming in, maybe I wouldn't work so much. You know, because listen. No one wants to see me do some hip hop. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just where I kind of hit in the
Sure.
in the history of the Broadway. Um, but yeah, I I I I think it was just the way my story landed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just to pull a coaching point out of this, like, uh, right time, right place, sure. You know, God-given things like height, sure. But you still had to do work to step through the door. You still had to show up and hone your craft your whole entire life, you know, et cetera, et cetera. What other than you saying like, hey, I hit the right height or the right era of my style of dance expertise, what other things would you attribute your consistency to?
Um, well, the longevity and consistency of it, sort of, I think we can all agree, starts from your physicality and um, listen. You know, I still am doing 8 shows a week, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. But in order to do that, I still take my Deb Roche jazz class 3 to 4 times a week in order to offset what I do 8 shows a week. And I've done that consistently, you know, almost the entire time I'm here. I did the producers. The producers was my longest running show. And as we know, the most decorated Tony award-winning show in history so far. And through that entire time, I did the entire time. I did a couple years in the ensemble. I did the first national as Ula. I did the last 4 years on Broadway as Ula. Through that whole time, I took my growth jazz class. It's a great warm up. She does an adage, with a front double play, side back, and it's set what you do what your body does 8 shows a week. So, I'm knocking on wood right now. It's sort of what's helped my consistency. And as far as you said what helped your consistency, but yeah, keep having to keep your head up, having to have a tough skin, having to, as much as someone can say, oh, look at all the shows you've done and look at what you've done. And I've not just done Broadway, I do regional theater in between. But you have to realize there's 100,000 no further interests in between there. And keeping a tough skin to deal with that is also a part of the consistency. Because, yeah, I think the great outweighs the bad, but keeping your head up and keeping a tough skin is also part of the consistency, and just knowing what you have to offer, and it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and realizing that and still being able to stay positive is another part of the consistency.
Yeah, not being everyone's cup of tea. Would you also attribute success to like still staying true to yourself so that you weren't walking into an audition room trying to be who you thought they would be or what they thought you would want them to be? And then, because I feel like sometimes people won't book because they weren't themselves and were trying to be someone else. And if they were just themselves, that would have been the time that they booked.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's hard. Listen, I don't ever think I've been a great auditioner my whole life. I don't do it much anymore, but I've just never. It's a weird thing, and I'm a social person. Like I can talk to anybody, but there's something about feeling that you got to enter the room and you got to be, and everything goes out the window. If I can, I'll just tell a quick little story about an audition. It's one of my favorite audition stories. I was going into her place in Sunset Boulevard, and I had on fishnets because it was a harem. It was like a harem girl, and you played. I played a couple movie stars in this track, whatever. So I had on some fishnets, and they said, "Oh, will you come in and sing first?" It was an invited call. So I grabbed I thought I was dancing first, but I grabbed my backpack, and it was a leather backpack. It was in the 90s, leather backpack with buckles on it, and the buckle got caught on my fishnet. So I was supposed to enter the room, but I was kind of caught. So I didn't want to not enter the room. So I kind of walked in the room with my backpack and my fishnets, and I was caught, and I said, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. My backpack's caught on my thing. And I was like this, and I was laughing. And one of the PSM at the time said to the associate choreographer, to my friend Jody, he said, "Who is that? Hire her." Before I even did anything.
So the production stage manager hired you.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if, I still had to dance and I still had to sing. And but it's true. I just entered the room with but with no like, oh, here I am.
Right.
I'm being grand.
Yeah.
Not that that's how I entered the room, but
yeah. No,
everything was just sort of down. Yeah.
Yeah. You being a relatable human was the breath of fresh air that, everyone behind the table was looking for.
Maybe. I don't know, but I got the job.
Hey, there you go. You had said like you need to have tough skin. Besides just saying that to yourself throughout the years of like, hey, you have to have tough skin. What are like some tangible either practices mindset wise or just like habitual routine stuff? Like how does one have tough skin?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't have like a meditation routine or a thing. I do like my quiet time. I need to shut down, at night. It's sort of, I just need to shut down, whatever that means for me, whether it's an episode of Friends, just being quiet. A lot of times after my show, my husband's in bed anyway, because, our show, especially our late shows, I need to shut down, and I like my quiet time. I like keeping my voice quiet because, yapping over loud music and being out, like I have to be careful with that stuff. But I think it's just my upbringing.
Yeah.
I grew up with 4 brothers, and a father who really just made me feel, like a queen, and not in an arrogant way, not in an overly, I don't know, pompous way or whatever. They just made me an independent person. That's all I can say.
Mm.
Having 5 great male people, right? So I never felt like I needed to have, that. So I think in a way it just gave me an innate sensibility of just being a confident person.
Mm.
Um, and listen, I know my strengths, and you said walking into a room trying to be somebody. I'm the first person that thinks I'm not, oh, I'm not good enough to do that. Oh, I'm not good enough to do that. But I do know what my strengths are, and I do know what my weaknesses are. And I
Mm.
think just knowing that, and knowing, as my friend David Hibbard would say, knowing your colors, it gives you just a self-confidence. And again, not to be confused with arrogance, a self-confidence that can kind of keep you afloat. And guess what? You know what? You didn't get that one. And I call it the audition aftermath. When I would go to an audition, I would be like, oh, I should have done that. Oh, I should have done that. And you think about it and you run over it. And it's the worst. It's just
Yeah.
the worst. And they say, oh, don't take it personal. But how can you not take it personal? It's about you. You're too tall. You're too old. You're too this. You're not a good enough singer. Whatever it is, of course you take it personal.
Yeah.
But I think the love of it, and then the great moments, seeing the marquee up on the Broadway show, seeing the marquee up for your Broadway show, the greatness of those moments help outweigh it, I guess.
Yeah. 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 I think anyone that has achieved great success has to, you know, dance that fine balance between confidence and humility for sure. And there are those who are more favored towards the confident side, which would then make them arrogant, but yet
Well,
they're
and
still
listen, I mean,
successful.
I'm not saying it's not the way and that it's not helpful,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm not a star. I don't know, you know what I
Mm.
mean? But it's just, I don't regret one moment of anything I've done all these years. Like, to ever, I mean, except with the exception of the pandemic. I say it took 30 years in a pandemic to end my career, but with the exception of the pandemic, I've been able to make a living of what I love to do. And
Yeah.
for me, it's Casey Nicola. I don't care if I'm in the back corner of the stage. Just creating whatever that is. You're a part of it. You're on the stage. You're on the Broadway stage. And, to me, there's joy in that. And to be paid to do what you love.
Right. Okay, so with all those experiences, now that you're experiencing Some Like It Hot, is there anything different about this one or special? Or would you say each experience has been different and has held, different places in your heart from
Well, I
show
think,
to show?
yeah, I mean, I think the prom and Some Like It Hot are both Casey Nicolau productions. I'm a Nicolau girl,
Mm.
um, now, but I think they're both of them, because I started with them on the ground up,
Mm.
right? Well, so Mark and Scott are my good friends. They wrote the music. I did Catch Me If You Can with them. I worked on the ground up with that. And when I say ground up, they had already written the song. So they were a couple years before I got on board with it,
Yeah.
right? So I kind of did that with them. They're like family to me. So now I get Casey and Scott and Mark in Some Like It Hot, working on it from the ground up. The day after we opened prom, Casey says, hey, will you come and read all the women in Some Like It Hot? So once we opened prom, I started working on this. So to me, that is special because Casey is a friend, and I've watched him. We were 2 ships that passed in the night in Crazy for You. He had left Crazy for You, and I came in on Broadway. So we never got to perform together, but I've just known him and known of him my whole New York life, basically. So it's really special to get to do these projects with him when he's given me a heads up on, hey, we're writing this character and we call her Angie. for the prom, right? So it just makes it a little more personal, a little more special. And knowing that you are somebody's cup of tea for a minute, that somebody is looking out for you. Somebody knows your strengths and is working, and that's how Minnie came about, because she didn't exist. I mean, Minnie was always the drummer, but she wasn't the band manager. And so that kind of part kind of came about too. So they're special in that way, because Casey, for some reason, has just been, a great champion for me. I don't know why, but it makes it just all the more special.
Cool.
They're like family, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Family that you don't want to disappoint and you very much respect.
Hey, talking about, circles and just the importance of the people you have around you, ones that make you or inspire you to be better. I mean, I don't know if there's anything more valuable than that.
You're absolutely right.
Because it's one thing to have yourself push yourself, but it's another thing to want to make sure that you're giving due justice, I guess, to the close ones around you that are also depending on you in a way,
Yeah. And listen, we all went through a horrible 2.5 years, whatever that was. I don't even want to think about it. And what he also, besides being creative and being respectful and being collaborative, besides all of that, there is joy, there is laughter, and that there is nothing more than any of us need right now than that.
Yeah.
And to get to have that in a room, listen, I don't want it any other way. I've been doing this a long time. So I don't want to walk in a room and feel bad about myself. I don't want to be joyless, right? So it's all of that. And then you get the little cherry on top, the happiness, the joy, right?
Yeah.
Which is what you feel when you walk out of the theater of Some Like It Hot.
Yes. All right. So to wrap up, you said earlier when you were telling the book bag caught on the fishnet story, you said, if I could tell a story, and I thought to myself, Angie, you can tell as many stories as you want to tell. That's what we're here for. I want to pass the mic to you. And do you have any other stories from your career that are like, wow, when I sit around having drinks with friends or family, or I want to share something, this is a story that I love to share?
Well, I did share this in we did a Crazy for You day where we taught a number from Crazy for You, and then Stro was with us and we did talk back Susan Stroman. And so I do have this great Stro story that I love. I auditioned for the producers, and I had already done Crazy for You with Stro. So I knew her, right? I had done the first national tour and the last year and a half on Broadway of Crazy for You. So we knew each other. But I auditioned for the producers, and we all know what the producers is about. And there's that number called Springtime for Hitler in there. So we do the dance combo. She always liked to throw a cartwheel in there. I don't know. She just wanted to see if people could tumble, and I could, even though I'm 9 feet tall. And we did the combo, and I kind of turned or pivoted the wrong way. But my button, and the button is the button, the final pose of the number. You could do whatever you wanted. So I did a jump split and a Heil Hitler, right? That was my button. But I kind of messed up in the combo. So after I stood up, I said, Stro, I need a do-over. And she said, Angie, it's all about the button. I think she said it's all about the button, baby. But I'm going to add baby. It's all about the button. And I got the job. But I'm saying it's that last moment that you leave of your last impression, right? Yeah. And I love buttons of numbers. I don't know, like sometimes when you see a button of a number, you're like, oh my God, I want to do that number. I don't know what it is in me. I don't know if it's, and Crazy for You, I got Rhythm, the button of that number. It was just the longest number ever. And it was just the greatest feeling. So anyway, it's all about the button, baby.
Can I make a t-shirt about that?
Yeah, sure.
Can we make it?
I don't know what people think you're talking about, but
I mean, this shirt's only for us in the industry. They'll know exactly what we're talking about. Honestly, because we
have to get one for Stro.
That's of course. No doubt. That's life though, that's the career, that's everything. Like, hey, the journey isn't always the prettiest, but it's how you finish is what's most important.
Yeah. Yeah. Or there's that great poem called The Dash.
I don't know
And
it. I don't know
it's
it.
called The Dash. Look it up. And it's
Okay.
all about, this is the date you were born. This is the date that you pass. And it's all about the dash in between. It's a very, very lovely poem.
Okay.
I'd have to Google it to tell you who wrote it, but you can just Google it. And it's great. And it's all about what's in between. But
All
then that just sort of offset what we said about it being the button. But I
right.
don't know. I guess it's all of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I usually like to
It's
say,
all encompassing.
I like to say, the journey is, or, it's a quote, it's not mine, but
Okay.
the journey is the destination,
Okay, great. Then that puts it all together.
Yeah. But, it's all about the button, baby. That's our,
That's
gonna
your
have
new built for the stage.
right here. I'll ask you to write out your signature. We'll put it right there. We'll send Stro one. You think I'm joking? I'm gonna be hitting you up after this, like, hey,
Okay.
let's get it going.
Okay. I love it.
She said, okay.
She'll love it. She'll love it. Just make sure it's black.
Okay, black.
She likes to wear black.
White text.
Sure.
Okay, cool. All right, we're designing right now. All right, amazing. Angie, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, that's Angie Schworer from Some Like It Hot. Make sure you follow Angie on Instagram. It's simply her name. Great branding there. We'll put that in the description of this episode. I'm Joe Roscoe with Built for the Stage. Actors or athletes, train like one.